Welcome to 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, Season 3. I'm Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator. Each week, I sit down with a different author to explore what lies behind the pages. Growth, purpose, finding your voice. Enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. With me, your host, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator. Today, I am joined with Shawn Shawn L. Bagley Jr. I love when people use their
Yes,
whole situation because that means you're
absolutely.
not ashamed of it.
Mhm.
But this particular episode, guys, is going to be a little different, especially for those who say, I don't like to read something that's really long. You're going to find today's book, Letters to a Dreamer, a real treat. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Campbell. It is a pleasure to be here with you, and I'm excited to do this. So thank you.
Awesome. So, why don't you tell our listening, viewing audience just a little bit about you? In the back of the book, you kind of have a abbreviated author's bio, which I was like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of information that's probably missing from this bio, but tell
Oh
our
yeah,
tell our audience about you.
yeah. Where do I start? First, I am a writer. I love to write, which I didn't think I'd be writing a book. I just love to journal, and then 8 years of writing letters to myself turned into this book. But my background is actually in consulting. So I started consulting at 18. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I was kind of just talking shop with a family friend who suggested it. And then, as God would have it, about a year and a half, 2 years later, I got the opportunity to step out on faith, started my own firm, had a lot of early success, and then it all went crashing in flames, right? And so I had that very humbling experience very early on, declared the bankruptcy, went through all the rubble, what have you, and started Blue Light Consulting, which is, my firm now. And so we primarily focus on helping people with their positioning, right? So in three areas. The first is your unique value proposition. So maybe you're not very clear on what that is. The second is you are clear on what that is, but you can't articulate it. So we go into your positioning. And the last thing, which makes us unique, is focusing on internal resonance, right? So that word authenticity comes back. What I find is that a lot of us, when we get into business, we mimic what we see. We don't show up in the space as ourselves, right? And so I help my clients to kind of shift back into that space as a creative and an entrepreneur, right? Because you can do both. You don't have to be one or the other. And so just helping them incorporate more of their personality is what I do on top of writing, on top of, I just launched a YouTube channel at the beginning of this month. So I'm now an official content creator, I suppose. But we've seen a lot of growth there. We're getting the views, and it's called SJB Speaks. If you want to check it out, and I'll be in my robe. And so yeah, that's what I do. That's my background. So the
I
short
love
version.
it. I love it. So one of the
Yeah.
things you talked about as an entrepreneur, not knowing your place in the space.
Hmm.
Um, I remember my first business. So first of all, my background is healthcare administration. And so
Okay.
my
Okay.
first business was called Physician Practice Resources because
Hmm.
I was focused on providing resources to physician practices from an operational perspective. So it could be
Okay.
with their health records, it could
Hmm.
be with
Hmm.
how their bills get paid. And 3 years ago, I decided I don't want to do that anymore. And it was primarily because I realized that that's not the assignment that I was supposed to
Hmm.
be on, um, at this
Yes.
time, right?
Hmm.
And I basically realized that I wasn't in alignment with my assignment. I wasn't truly operating in my gifts. And so I made the decision to cut it loose, filed bankruptcy as well. I was a little nervous about filing bankruptcy, but I'm just gonna be
It's
honest.
a process, isn't it?
It well, I didn't have a whole lot of debt, but it was
Okay.
just the stigma associated with, oh, you're filing bankruptcy.
Mhm.
But then let me just tell you something. I looked at all the business people who filed bankruptcy
Mhm.
and start over, and I was like,
Multiple
done,
times.
done.
Yep.
It was
Yeah, I felt such a sense of relief. It was like I was over it by that point anyway, you know. I mean, I faked it a lot of that's why the second letter is all about that. You know, the second letter in the book is called Faking It Is Not a Requirement for Making It. And that was me. You know, I showed up in the space exactly as you would expect me to show up, never as myself. And so I think a lot of people do that because the world we live in has made it so unsafe to be yourself, you know. But here's what I've come to discover, Dr. Campbell, and that is that that whole thought process is a joke, right? By itself, because really we're all unique expressions. You know, I even talked about that. I call them morning musings on my channel. So every day I post one, right? It's just me sitting and thinking, meditating a little bit. And in one, I talk about that, the fact that you are as unique as a thumbprint. You know, you were not, there will never be another you when you're gone. There will never be another expression like you. There will never be another light like yours. And so that's what I try to instill in clients and get them to kind of listen, the box doesn't exist. It's a construct that they came up with to trick you out of being who you're called to be. So when you talk about calling, yeah, I actually had to walk away from a project, a really big project, in order to do the YouTube channel because I was being called in that direction and no one understood it, you know. They still don't probably, but it was something that just you just know. When you know, you know,
when you
you
know,
know.
you know. And you
Yeah.
know what?
Yeah.
Once you experience the
Mhm.
walking away, it gets easier.
Oh my goodness.
You're
Oh,
like,
and,
"Oh,
and
yeah.
then your faith gets stronger
Yes.
as a
Yes."
result, you know, because you're out there with nothing. I tell people, you want to get close to God, start a business. Start a business because you'll lose every friend you thought you had. You'll lose everything, you know, before you come into your own. But how many people don't come into their own? That's what scares me,
They're in that
you know.
box. People
Yeah.
so out of so, when I look at my entire friend group, I am the
Mhm.
person who has said for a very long time, I'm not a 9 to 5 person.
Mhm.
I just I don't fit into that box. I
Yeah.
really need to be free mentally, physically, emotionally, and
Mhm.
I no longer wanna be held hostage,
Mhm.
um, based on what society says we should be doing.
Right.
I don't wanna do
Right.
it,
No.
and I
No,
don't
and then you
care if
end
you
up
think I'm
in the
different.
hospital on medication in your 50s and sickly and just I don't think any of us are meant to really do the 9 to 5. And if we are meant to do the 9 to 5, I think the greed, the corporate greed, right, is what makes that unbearable for people like us. Because I believe that there are some companies with great cultures out there where, you know, they have unlimited vacation, all these wonderful things, you know, maternity leave, paternity leave. Um, but I think most of us are put here to create, all of us really. We're put here to leave something behind. I believe that, you know, it might not be a book, might just be a poem, it might be, but something. James Baldwin referred to it, his work, as what he will leave behind, what he left behind essentially in the rubble, you know. And his hope was that when someone found his work in the rubble, that in experiencing it, they would know that he did what he was called to do, you know, that he had done his work to such a degree that it had lasted through the destruction, you know. And I think that is my North Star right there for anything that I'm creating. you know?
I love it.
So
Now listen, let me just tell you one thing because you was talking about the 50s. I'm in the 50s,
I love it. I love it.
but I don't look like I'm in
No,
the
you do
50s.
not. No, you
And
do not.
I think part of that is really that I've been doing the work because I was the
Mhm,
person, if I could be honest,
mhm,
I was the person who was working a full-time job at a
mm,
university online. I had my business. I had a commercial office space, and so
mhm. Oh,
I
you
was
were doing
chasing
it.
after what I thought I was supposed to be chasing after, and there
Mhm,
were a series of events that really shut me down, and
mhm.
you know how they say that you can't hear from God because you won't shut up long enough to hear from him? So, I literally had that's why I like that one about the silence. I
Yeah, I love that.
literally had to go into seasons where I needed to reflect and really be
Mhm.
clear on my positioning and my purpose so that I could serve who I was supposed to be serving.
Yes. Yes. Because you can't serve everyone, and you're not meant to serve everyone, that's for me, the book, I had no intentions of publishing the letters. So, I just happened to be I read one to my mom one day. We were on the phone, and no, we were on FaceTime, actually. So, I was like, "Hey, listen to this. Tell me what you think of this." And so I read it, and she was like, "You should write a book." I was like, "I don't think so, but, that sounds good. What would I even talk about, right?" And I just couldn't get that thought out of my head. "You should write a book. You should write a book." So I started going through my notes, and I started finding all these different letters that I had written over the years. And then I heard God say, "There's your book." So I picked up 111 of them, and the rest is history. But then what I didn't realize was there's another process after the obedience, right? Because there's the obedience, but then there's the exercise of faith. So once you step into it, right, now there has to be that level of trust in order to really see it through. And so I was being disobedient on that side. That's what prompted the channel. So I was really focused on setting Blue Light up, and I got it in a position like, oh, this is going to be perfect. Get this one deal done. Everything's going to be good. It's smooth sailing. And the deal fell through, and I was so heartbroken at the time. And then I was meditating on it one morning, and God said, had that deal gone through, you would have doubled down on your business, and that's not where you're meant to be. The business is a part of what you're supposed to be doing, right? Because that's important work, but that's not what you're called to do. And so God said, I gave you a voice. I gave you that book, I gave you those letters, and you're not telling anyone about them, and you're not sharing them, and you're not, you know, you're not being obedient, essentially. And so that led me here. And then lo and behold, I get an email introduction from Esther, and it's like 52 authors, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Here we go. So yeah, it all kind of happened in in rapid order.
Wow, and you know what? This is year 3 of 52 authors, 52 weeks.
Wow.
I basically had
Wow.
told someone like, mm, 4 years ago, I wanna do a
Hmm.
podcast, but I was struggling with what was the podcast gonna be about, so I kinda did these 30-minute growth session,
Hmm.
interview podcasts, and then one day it hit me, you really need to focus on interviewing authors because there's a
Hmm.
lot of people who need to be exposed to what you're writing about,
Very true.
that they're on that YouTube.
Hmm.
People spend a lot of hours on
Hmm.
YouTube, and so when I look back, I'm just like, "Wow." And then I'm like, "Nobody else is doing this type of
No,
podcast."
no.
So you know it's what you're supposed to do. You're in alignment.
Hmm. Absolutely. Alignment. What a beautiful word. What a excuse me. I actually was thinking the other day about how I had beat myself up for past failures, and I came to the realization that they actually weren't failures. I was misaligned, and I was being realigned. That even that deal not going the way that it was supposed to go, was realignment. It put me right where I needed to be. Um, and it's not work that drains me. So that's how I know that I'm supposed to be doing it. I mean, I wake up thinking about it. I've got my camera all the time. I'm recording my thoughts now more. I mean, I was never a social media person. Now I'm all over social media, which so I think once you're in your lane and doing your thing, you kind of figure out how to use a lot of those different tools and not let them use you. Like you talk about people on YouTube. I mean, I haven't spent as much time on YouTube as a consumer since I've started creating my own content, which is very interesting how that works. But um, you know, I was thinking about silence, and sometimes I've discovered that sometimes when God is silent during our trials, it's not a form of punishment. It's the kind of silence that says you already know the answer, you know. It's already within you. I've already downloaded it in you. Yet and still you keep turning to me asking me the same questions when I've already put it. So
Oh
that
my
that
God.
just came to me. Talking about silence, that just came to me.
I do not
Um
want you to have me screaming on this podcast because I kid you not. Yesterday, I was in the kitchen cooking
mhm,
and I was walking around, and all of a sudden, I started getting all these downloads
mhm.
and having these visions. Now, first of all, let me say this before I tell you the vision.
Oh, I love that.
I grew up in the church
Mhm,
and
same.
went to one church until I probably was 16, and then went to a second church starting in 1998.
Okay.
A ministry that I absolutely loved. And then 5 years ago, 2020 actually, my
Mhm.
pastor died. And
Oh, sorry.
so, yes, he was probably about 80 years old. But when I tell you my pastor was the best in the
Mm,
world,
yeah.
um, but let me get to the point.
No,
So I
please.
haven't found a church here in Chicago that I think I'm comparing the the the
Mm,
the preaching to my previous pastor, but the root of this story. I was sitting in the kitchen cooking, and I was just walking back and forward, and I had this download of me being a guest speaker at a church for women's service and or women's day or a
mhm,
women's brunch, and getting up there saying, "I'm not a preacher, I'm a
mhm.
teacher," and literally just started going through these things that I was gonna be saying. It was just like
See?
one download after
Preparation.
the next.
Mhm, mhm. Preparation. You're ready. You're
Oh my
ready. And
god.
here's so, I grew up in the church as well. I have a grandfather who's a pastor. My mom was a PK. Um, so but now at 34, so I don't subscribe to any religion now, right? When I was 26, my mentor gave me a book by Neil Donald Walsh called Conversations with God, and it changed my entire life. And when he gave it to me, he told me, "This is the most important book I've ever read next to the Bible." And so I went home, I read that entire book in one day. I didn't get up until I was done. That's how into it I was, right? It answers so many questions for me, but it also helped to shift my thinking from religion to relationship, and also helped me shift my relationship with God from one of fear to love. And so with that, it allowed me to see myself in a different light, because it's one thing to look at yourself with the judgment, and it's another to look at yourself with absolute love, right? And so um I say all that to say that I believe we live in a time where people are waking up, and spiritually they're looking for something that they can resonate with. And your experience hasn't been for nothing, right? So you've been removed for 5 years, and that there's a purpose in that, I think, because Now, although you've been removed, you have not been removed from relationship. And so you can take that back into, right, the space. And I don't even know what made me say that. It must be God, but I definitely think that those downloads are not by, I don't believe in coincidence, you know. I really don't. So I can't wait to see you, I can't wait to see your video of you speaking. And you know what? If you don't get invited, then build it.
Oh, I'm already clear on the fact that I just need to inbox somebody and say,
See?
"Hey." Oh, I'm
Th-
listen, I'm
There
very
you
clear
go.
on that because I know it's a message that needs to be heard because
Mm,
many
mm-hmm.
people are
Mm-hmm.
hurting and they
Yes.
show up
Yes.
with those suits on and hats and
Mm-hmm.
all the things
Looking
like
good.
all is well, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Dead on the inside,
Yes.
struggling, and missing the relationship. See, they got the religion down. The religion is the routine. It's the ritual. It's the stuff we can do with our eyes closed. But that relationship, very dynamic experience. And individually, it's different for all of us. But a lot of people leave that church feeling great, and then Monday comes and life hits them, and now they feel disconnected. And they believe that some people believe that they need a conduit in order to have that relationship, and you don't.
Mm,
you know you don't.
mm.
So, and that's not to take anything away from pastors or you know any religious leaders or anything like that. But our connection with God started before we got here,
Absolutely,
before we knew what a
absolutely.
church was, what a deacon was, what a
Oh my god.
convocation was. You know what I mean? It's like, so, but we entertain ourselves with these things, don't we?
Listen, let me tell you
Um,
something. When I was walking in the kitchen yesterday,
mhm,
several of the downloads were about the fact that when we are born, they
mhm,
leave your footprint, right? Your
mhm,
heel
mhm.
to
Yep.
identify you as you.
Mhm,
And I believe that many people don't realize that God had already decided who we were gonna
mm.
be before we
Yes.
were even born.
Right.
So the
Right.
journey that we're on, a lot of times,
Mhm,
he allows us to go down this different direction because he knows if we
mhm,
have that relationship and that faith
mhm.
that we're gonna reroute back to where we're
Right.
supposed to be.
Right.
But many of us wanna play tug of war, right? And never
Oof. Yeah. Right. Exactly. We get caught up in that free will. It's funny you say that because I saw something on Instagram the other day where someone said this is a journey of remembering. It's already in you. You're it already. You're just remembering that as you go along. So I love that. I know we're running out of time.
I know, but I
Um,
got a question, I gotta ask
please,
you.
no, please, please.
I do wanna have you read one of the letters, but it seems like, many of the letters were about difficult seasons that
Hmm.
you experienced in life.
Hmm.
And so you were vulnerable enough to put them in black and white and share them with the world.
Yeah.
How has that helped you?
Hmm. It's a good question, actually. Because yes, so to give context, I was writing these in real time. So I'm going through it in real time. And what it has done for me is it's helped me not care so much in terms of what it looks like, because now I'm so locked in on the fact that it's a collaboration, a co-creation between God and myself, that I'm not concerned with what it looks like to people on the outside. I'm on mission right now. I was just talking about this the other day. That's what it did for me. It completely destroyed not just the mask I was wearing, but my entire collection, right? That I've curated over the years. The one who has it all figured out, the one who has the strongest faith, the one who, right, all of these things, it shattered it completely, you know, and it was a gift. It was a gift. So that's what it did for me.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And I'm tickled pink because I got on this pink this outfit that I recently bought that I'm still
I
trying to
love
figure
that.
out if I like it. It's cute,
It's
but
different. It stands
that,
out. It
first of
pops.
all, it is different, but it's a one size fits all. And so it feels like
Oh,
it's bigger than me. But
then
anyway,
what? Yeah.
um I'm tickled pink because I'm looking at you at 34. My daughter is 33.
Wow.
My
Okay.
oldest daughter. And I'm so proud of um who you are. I'm excited about what you're going to do in the
Thank
future.
you.
My youngest daughter, who is 26, now I need to tell her that there's some hope. She talks
Yes.
about there's no one out there for me, blah 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 blah.
Yeah. That
So
generation is rough, but they're,
that's what she said.
yeah,
She
it's
said it's
rough.
rough. She said it's
It's
rough in the
different.
streets.
Oh yeah, it's different. It's different now. But there's somebody. There's somebody. You
Absolutely.
know.
But you know
Yeah.
what? I tell her all the time,
Hmm.
you really need to take this time period of your life and explore life,
Hmm.
enjoy life,
Hmm.
get to know yourself better
Yes.
so
So
that when you
important.
do find your person, you're
Hmm.
not defined by them. You are a whole person
Right.
that you join
Right.
together with another whole person, and
Hmm.
together you
Hmm.
can grow.
Because then you can build. You know,
Yes.
you can't build the other way around. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, no, I agree. I would say I spent a lot of my 20s working a lot. So I was
Me too.
very driven, very focused, very, um but I don't regret it because, I would have friends, they'd be like, "You're going to the movies by yourself? You're going out to dinner by yourself?" Yeah, I'm
And
alone, but
did.
I'm not lonely. Right, right, and had a great
Right.
time. I enjoy my own company. That's, the joy of silence. It goes back to that whole thing. You have to be, the silence is where you're going to hear God. You can't
Mm,
hear God with everybody around you talking in the chatter. And guess what? If God has something to say to you and you are around a bunch of people, you're going to feel very lonely in that room full of people until you are isolated and get the message,
absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
So isolation is a blessing and it's a
And it's a
gift.
blessing, but you don't wanna
Yeah.
stay in that place
No,
too
no, no,
long.
no. No, you don't. And I almost did. I almost did. Um, but then again, maybe I didn't because God was like, "No, you don't. Let's get you out of there."
Yes.
Um,
So before we go, I would love for you
please.
to read one of the letters.
Yes.
And of course, when I first looked at it, I said, "Dearest dreamer," that sounds like Bridgerton. Dearest reader. They say that in the
Mm.
episode.
See, I've never even watched that show. I'm gonna have to check it out. I've heard things about it though.
Yes.
So
So
yeah,
let's
dear
hear
Stringer.
from you on one of these letters. I already told you which one I like, but I also
Yes.
like
Yes.
existing gratitude. But
Oh, existing gratitude is good too. The one that I was actually gonna read is I am. So when you get a chance to check that one out, it's letter number 88. Um, this is letter number 24. It's called The Joy of Silence. Dearest dreamer, if you have not been isolated yet, prepare yourself. Understand that it is not a punishment, but an incredible blessing. These moments or periods of isolation are going to strengthen you and prepare you for your destiny. I remember believing that once I had been abandoned I remember believing once, excuse me, that I had been abandoned during a time of isolation. At that time in my life, nothing was working and I felt like I was going in circles. I didn't have clarity about what I wanted to do with my life. On one hand, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but in my heart of hearts, I knew I was meant to be a writer. I wanted to write. I knew that I was meant to share my creative gifts with the world. I knew that I was supposed to use my gifts to uplift and inspire others. There will be many times, dreamer, where you wish time would fast forward to the good part. I'm here to tell you that all of your life is the good part, even in those moments when you feel hopeless and defeated. Those feelings are normal. They're a part of your journey. Over the past decade, I've been in isolation more times than I can count, and each time I've come out stronger. The same is true for you, dreamer. The silence that isolation brings will haunt you at first. It will feel foreign to you, and you will mistake your isolation period for punishment and your sacred solitude for loneliness. Isolation is a blessing. Shift your perspective. Understand that your isolation will always precede your elevation. You're about to go to the next level, dreamer, and that same silence you used to dread will be a sacred sound to your soul as you continue on your journey. It will be the space where you drown out all the noise around you and gain absolute clarity. Those moments of silence will be your one on one time with God. Take this time to reconnect and get clear on your purpose and your path. Remember that even the fastest, most powerful race cars have to come in for a pit stop eventually. Take your time and rest. This journey is a marathon and not a sprint. It comes in stages, and each stage builds your strength and prepares you for the next stage. Embrace the silence, and the outside noise will sound less like a voice of reason to you and more like what it is: noise. Don't focus on the noise, it means nothing. Keep going.
Take this time to reconnect and get clear on your purpose and your path. So I'm just going to tell
Yes,
you that I'm going to have to steal that little statement. I'm working
please.
on, I'll give you credit though. I'm working
Oh, I
on
appreciate it.
a woman's retreat. And
Ooh, that's good.
I really want to use that
Oh, I'd
as
be
a
honored.
prompt
Please.
for,
Yes,
a time of reflection. So I'm on
please,
it.
please. I
I'm on
love that.
it.
I love that. Yeah, that's incredible. Um, I really appreciate this, Dr. Campbell. Do you prefer Dr. Campbell, Dr. Lisa? Are you indifferent to?
So listen, my name out on the World Wide Web is Dr. Lisa L. Campbell because I trademarked my name
Yes, I know that's
after,
right.
and not like to be cocky. It was
Hmm.
literally, and I tell people this all the time. I was meeting with this marketing specialist for my first business,
Hmm.
and it was during the pandemic. And we had an 8 hour, I paid for and scheduled an 8 hour intensive, right? And
Hmm.
this was for my first business. And one of the things she said to me was, people are not going to purchase services because of the name Physician Practice Resources. They're going to purchase services because of Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. And I
Mm.
took it and ran with it.
And look at you now. I love it.
Listen,
I
listen,
love it.
I'm just getting started.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I know it. Okay. I'm just happy to be a part of the journey. And Esther never misses. She never ever misses. Um, yeah, which is
And you
why
guys
she's
are
in
so
my dedication.
young. You guys are so young.
We are. Yeah, yeah. To think that I started at 22 blows my mind because it took me a long time to forgive myself because I didn't see myself as just a kid that was just trying stuff out, you know. Um I didn't always make decisions that were based in integrity even when I knew better. You know, all the people that I came up under, my mentors with the exception of a few, were sharks. They were old school business, somebody's got to get screwed types of people, right? And it took me losing literally everything from my reputation to my business to relationships to really reset. So that whole taking the time to rest, reconnect, and get clear on your purpose, that has been my life cycle, you know, in terms of doing this over and over and over again. Um, and now finally feeling like I'm getting it right. So,
You are
you
getting
know,
it
very
right.
happy. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well, you
are
know, this
getting
is
it
the
right.
first interview um for that I've done for my book. So I'm super excited about it
Oh my
and
gosh, I'm
happy that it can be
so
here.
honored.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. So
so
that's pretty
honored.
dope. I
Well,
love that.
listen, I'm so honored that you agreed to be a part of this. I'm calling it the 52 authors 52 weeks experience because I want
Yes.
the world to not only go and purchase your book, Letters to a Dreamer,
Please.
but I also want them to expand their network, right, of resources that are
Mm-hmm.
available, because I guarantee you there are a lot of business owners who are like, I got this business, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand their positioning, they don't
Oh
understand
yeah.
their differentiators, all the
Mm-hmm.
things that make you unique as a business
Right.
owner. And you and I learned it by, I'm not going to say failing.
Woo.
We just had to
Yeah,
go
by
down.
realigning.
Yeah, we had to be realigned, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, multiple times. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I know that's what makes me uh a great consultant in that particular space is because I got it the hard way for Blue Light. We were everything. We were a branding firm, we were a marketing agency, we were a general consulting firm, business development, blah 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 blah. And it took someone looking at me and saying, "Hmm, product and service positioning is actually what you do. That's the thing that you're really, really great at. All that other stuff is like, it's cool. You can do it, but that's not really, your thing." And I went back and thought about it and I was like, they're absolutely right. They're right. And so hooked up with a friend of mine. She was having some trouble. And I'll leave you with this, but I hooked up with her. She called me and she's like, "Hey, let me do one of your Spark calls." Right. And so it's just 45 minutes. It's us having a conversation. We deep dive into a few things. She did that. Then she called again. She's like, "Hey, let's do a jam session. I work some things out. I want to talk to you about it." So working with her, she set up this retreat and she had been working on this retreat for 2 years with very little traction. She tried to launch it a couple times. It wasn't working. So one day we're talking, and I was just like, "What are you so afraid of? Why are you so afraid to show up as you?" I said, "You're telling me all the benefits that this thing has, and none of the passion that caused you to create it. You're not talking about any of that. Speak from a place of passion, you'll get a different result." She did that. Long story short, her retreat is this week on Thursday. She sold it out back in October.
Wow. Wow.
So, and that was just off of her having a conversation with one person and then, "Oh, hey, my friend's doing this," and then it kind of spiraled from there. But I say all that to say that clarity and positioning will change your life. I mean,
Absolutely.
it'll change your business. So,
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
listen, we are definitely out of time, but I think this has been such an amazing episode. You've provided a lot of insight, talking about your creative process, which a lot of people don't realize they have a story inside of them, but you also
Mhm.
demonstrate demonstrated what it means to persevere in spite of the stuff that you went through and how
Yeah.
you discovered who you truly were underneath
Mhm.
all the layers. And so I really hope that many people will jump on that bandwagon of rediscovering themselves, because
Yes.
it's stressful walking around as that fake person.
It's stressful and it's exhausting. It's draining. And then you got to remember how you showed up with different folks and in different rooms and
It's
no,
too
that was
much.
the whole thing with this robe. When I'm at home working, I'm in my robe, I'm in my hoodie, I'm in my whatever, right? My sweater, whatever I throw on to stay warm. And so that's how I show up. And I don't think twice about it. For the clients that don't like it, they go about their business and I go about mine and life goes on. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, no, I agree with you. It's exhausting. And thank you for shining your light and giving others a space to come and shine theirs. I appreciate it. And I'm
Thank
sure other creatives do too.
Yes. Well, listen, everyone, this has been another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. I just finished chatting with Shawn L. Bagley Jr., author of Letters to a Dreamer. Thank you so much for
Yes.
listening. Please ensure that you like, subscribe, and share. Until next Saturday, everybody have a great day. You've just experienced another conversation from 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, Season 3. The conversation may pause here, but the growth continues. I'm Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator, and I'll see you next week.